My phone is on 12%, but I don't want to charge it before filming, so I'm dicing with death. Can't wait. Also, this makeup looks really weird with my glasses on, so here you go. You're welcome. Hello and welcome back, or welcome. Hello, be my friend. Yes, today we're going to be doing my May wrap up, so I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in May. It was only 5, which if you watched my TBR video for the Asian Readathon, you'll know that that is not exactly how I wanted the month to go, but it's fine. Yeah, most of these books I read for the Asian Readathon, apart from the first one, which I guess we should just get straight into it. So the first book I read in May was Circus of Wonders by Elizabeth McNeil. So this I had an advance copy from NetGalley, and yeah, so thanks Pam Macmillan for that. Cheers, my boys. And it was published on the 15th of May, so I really wanted to read it like before it was published, like before the publication day, because I thought otherwise there's no point in me having an arc. So I read that at the beginning as kind of separate from Asian Readathon, and I really enjoyed it. It was a fun time. Would recommend. So Circus of Wonders follows Nell, who is sold by her family into Jasper Jupiter's circus. He is kind of determined to like make her a sort of sensation of the London like entertainment scene, and by doing so like solidify his fame. He's always searching for like the new kind of big draw for the crowd. And then basically there's a load of fun circus drama, and it's really vivid, atmospheric historical fiction, just like you'd expect from Elizabeth McNeil if you have read Doll Factory, which I have and I loved. I didn't like this one quite as much, but that's okay, there's someone knocking on my door. Basically I really enjoyed it, but I just wish there had been more from the women in the circus, because mostly it focuses on Jasper, the owner of the circus, and his brother Toby, and their kind of relationship, which is really interesting, and the kind of how they're different and how they're also like bound together is really interesting to read about, and I really did really enjoy that. But I feel like I wanted more from the other characters and I wanted them to be a bit more fleshed out. But generally very solid, enjoyed, would recommend. Then I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi, translated by someone, Jeffrey Trusselot, maybe. Yes, so this is a book about time travel, but it is very specific time travel because it's about a cafe where you can go back in time to another point in time in the cafe. But there are lots of rules about this, one of them being you have to get back before the coffee gets cold, and also you can't change what happens in the present. So no matter what you do, when you go back in time, the present will stay the same. And it follows, I think, 4 people and kind of what happens when they go back in time. I really liked the concept and how it kind of raised questions of like whether it's worth going back, and like I think sort of questions about like regret and what you would change and how you can change people without actually changing what happens. It's confusing, but yeah, that was all sort of interesting, but the writing wasn't really anything special, and I couldn't connect to the characters at all. I think partly because there was okay, so the writer did something really annoying, where every time a new character was introduced, or a character was introduced like for a different day, he would explain in really like immaculate detail what they were wearing and not much else about them. Also the ending felt very kind of rushed, and it was sort of like wrapped up in a very neat little sentence about like, here is what you should take from this book, and I didn't really appreciate that. So yeah, it was fine, but I didn't really have any strong like positive feelings particularly. Then I read The Black Tides of Heaven by Neon Yang, which I really enjoyed. I thought it was really good. So this is a fantasy novel kind of following 2 twins, and they are the children of the kind of protector is her title, and she's really ruthless and horrible. And it's basically following their lives as they kind of like learn about themselves and try and forge their own identities, but also try and like rebel against their mother in different ways. This book is so beautifully written. Like I can still imagine like the cities and the buildings and the people described in it. And I loved how like the discussions of gender and like faith and what else was there, free will as well, were like all tied up in the characters' stories. I thought that was done really well. However, one thing that really not annoyed me, but I think prevented me from liking it more than I did, was the fact that the magic system is left very vague, which is fine, but I think it kind of it sounded really like creative and interesting, and I just wanted to know more about how it worked, but you only get like little snippets from characters using it or talking about it, and I really wanted to like know more about the details and what it actually was that they were doing. It is the start of a series, so there might be more detail in the next books, but I just kind of wanted more, and that's fine. That's just like personal preference. It's not like any reflection on the book. I did really like how there isn't a clear like ending or kind of like trajectory. It's not like this is the story that we're following. It's just here are little snapshots of these people's lives, which is a genre and a kind of storytelling style that I really like, but I'm not used to it in fantasy, so that kind of confused me a little bit, but I really enjoyed it. I think it worked really well. So yeah, generally good. The start is definitely the absolutely beautiful writing. I would really recommend it if you're in for a kind of slightly short like fantasy thing. Then I read How Much of These Hills is Gold by C. Pam Zhang, another amazingly written book that I really enjoyed. So this starts off with two siblings who have been recently orphaned, and basically they're going on a journey through the American West to try and find a place to bury their father. And then from there it kind of moves outwards and looks at their parents and how they kind of moved around trying to find better luck in different places kind of during the gold rush. But also there's like so much more than that. Like it's an odd kind of book because there's not that much like overarching plot, but also a lot happens. Not sure how that works, but it does somehow. It also has a really unique way of approaching like writing and perspective that I found so interesting. So just from a kind of like, you know, appreciating how this book was like constructed, I really enjoyed it. But also like the characters' stories are so moving. Also the way that the landscapes are described in this is amazing. Like it's so vivid, and I was transported, you know? The only slightly negative thing for me was the ending. I enjoyed like the very end, like the last page I thought was immaculately written, but kind of leading up to that I thought the pacing got a bit odd, especially like considering the rest of it. It felt like a kind of like separate section that kind of didn't quite fit, but other than that, very good, highly recommend. And then finally I read Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro, which is another one that I have mixed feelings on. So this is about an artificial friend, or AF, called Clara, who is waiting in a shop to be kind of chosen by a child who she will then go home with and befriend. And I don't think you really want to know much more than that, because it is like, if you've read Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, which is the only one of his that I've read apart from this, it is quite similar in the sense that it's a slightly kind of dystopian speculative future world, but you're not told very much about it. It's kind of just revealed over time, and sadly I've realised I don't really like that style very much, because I don't like just being dropped in with no context and then kind of being expected to figure out what's going on from the clues. I don't know if that makes me a lazy reader, because I want the author to do all the world building for me, but I think it's just my kind of preference, because I really want to get like deep into the details and like analyze what's going on and figure out what's happening. And if I can't do that, I find that I can't get fully immersed into a story because I don't know the context. So for example, in this book there were moments that were definitely meant to be like dramatic, and I could tell that they were kind of moments of tension, but I couldn't feel the tension because I didn't know what the stakes were. Like I didn't have all the context for what the characters were describing, which made me frustrated and kind of like took me out of it. However, I can really see like the literary merit of this book, and I think it is really, really well done. It's just that kind of approach is not my personal preference. Yeah, it's really interesting, the kind of like questions of how human and emotional Clara is, and what her kind of like capacity for emotion is like. That is really interesting, especially because you're seeing it all from her perspective. So you experience the world and her kind of part in it from her. And the way she perceives the world is really interesting and often quite surreal. I also found the theme of loneliness was really like powerful, because it's kind of discussed how AFs are needed because they're needed to keep children from getting lonely. And there are certain points that it felt like were really resonant to kind of the sort of loneliness that people felt like during the pandemic. And that was really subtle and really kind of, yeah, just like really well done. And although some hints I clearly didn't get, and some things just I wasn't sure what was happening, some of the kind of clues about this world I found really, really fascinating. Like the way that Clara perceives class, and her kind of references to climate change are all really interesting, and just made me want to know more about this world that the story takes place in. So yeah, I don't know. If you've read this, please let me know, because I want to ask you a load of questions about all the things that I didn't get, but maybe I just wasn't picking up on. Because I just really want to know. That's all the books that I finished in May. I am carrying over 2 books. One of them is America Is Not the Heart by Elaine Castillo, which is over there, but I can't be bothered to go and pick it up. It's really good. I've just been reading it very slowly. I'm not sure why. And then also I am currently listening to Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo on audiobook, which I'm really enjoying, and I'm quite close to the end now, so once I finished it I should be able to watch the series, which is very exciting. Ben Barnes, here I come. Also, just a little update, I said at the beginning of the year that I was going to do a book buying ban, and since my birthday, which was in March, I've basically completely ignored that, which hasn't been great. So my TBR is now bigger than it was at the beginning of the year, which is ridiculous. It's now at 120 books. That's my physical TBR, including books that like my mum has, or my friends have, my flatmate has, like these books. Some of them that I want to read, not just books that I've bought myself. But yeah, what with like winning the Women's Prize longlist and, you know, my birthday and then buying a load of books at bookshops and stuff like that, my TBR has got out of hand. So I've decided that at the end of each video I'm going to update you on what my TBR is at currently, my physical TBR. That's what Leanne Rose does, and I don't know, I'm like, maybe this will help me keep accountable. And also I'm not gonna buy any more books at all, no matter what, until my TBR is below 100, which means I have to read 20 books before I can do that, which is fine. I just need to actually read instead of putting things off. I think part of the problem is that I've been getting more into audiobooks, so books that I've wanted to read for a while but I haven't actually bought, that I can access on audio, I have been reading, so that hasn't been making like my physical TBR go down. Like I think over the last few months, like I've only read about 4 books that have been from my actual physical TBR, which isn't great. Anyway, it's fine. It's not under control, but it will be, and I'm gonna keep you updated. Anyway, Thank you for watching. I will see you very soon.